Hello, dosto. Welcome back in this training. In this particular training section, we're going to cover about Zscaler Internet Security. In short, it's called ZIA. So ZIA has so many things to cover, and you can see the list is so big. Okay, so it has like we'll understand the ZIA architecture, URL and cloud app policies, URL categories, then profile, file type policies, DLP policies, right? Browser isolation, sandboxing, and there are so many other, topics which are part of the ZIA internet security. So we will be covering all these topics in this particular training. And we're gonna have a separate video for each of these topics. So then, we can have a detailed, discussion about these all topics. Since this very first video, we're gonna discuss about ZIA architecture. And before we go and understand about the ZIA architecture, let us understand about the Zscaler itself, right? So what is Zscaler? How it work? Why you need it, right? So Zscaler is basically a cloud-based security solution. Okay. When I mean by a cloud-based security solution, that means it's like 100% cloud solution. Okay. Uh, what it does basically, it secure your user, right? It prevents cyber threat and data loss. It provides fast, reliable, zero trust connectivity to application from anywhere because they have several data center, all over the globe, and they connects to the application, not to the network, which which prevent the lateral harm moment. So to explain it a bit more, what Zscaler does, Zscaler secure your users, and not only users but workstation, workspace, right? Workspace or IoT, right? IoT. So it can protect any of these devices, right? And it how it protect them, you configure a certain policies, right? Zscaler provides certain things through which you can, protect, right? So, for example, how do you protect data loss? Zscaler has a DLP solutions, right? How do you prevent cyber threats? Zscaler has advanced firewall, advanced IPS or IDS engines, which prevent these threats, right? Zero-day threats. Now, how also it secure users because it doesn't connect user to a network. What it does, it connect user to a specific application which they should access to, right? That's how it prevent the lateral movement, and it becomes, it makes Zscaler a very special cloud architecture or a cloud solution for the cyber security. Okay, so Zscaler has mainly three products, right? And there are many other products as well, but we'll talk about Zscaler Internet Access, ZIA, and then that's only we're going to talk about in this section. And then there is a Zscaler Private Access, which is called a ZPA, and then there is a Zscaler Digital Experience ZDX. So ZIA is basically for internet access, right? When user wants to access internet traffic, they forward traffic to their Zscaler data center, and that's where all processing happens. Zscaler Private Access is for the private access application, and then ZDX is for the user experience, right? It provides admin a privilege or a way to check the user experience, check user logs without checking or contacting user, understand if user having any performance problem, any computer or a system, hardware issues, high memory utilizations. So this is a very good tool to troubleshoot these kind of things. So that's what about Zscaler. Let's understand about the how it works, right? So how it works, I think we already touched on it, but to repeat it once again, Zscaler customer forwards their user traffic to the Zscaler data center, where Zscaler process that traffic, applies policy to it. All right, allow, block, based on the policy configuration, based on the threats, based on the DLP configuration and all, and then it goes to the internet. That's how it works. That's a flow. Now, let us understand about the Zscaler architecture, right? Zscaler is a SASE solution. SASE means security as a service solution, okay? It's 100% cloud-based, okay? Their data centers are across the globe. It's a very high scalable, right? Global architecture, and they have multiple clouds. So they have like Zscaler 1, Zscaler 2, Zscaler 3, multiple clouds. Distributed architecture, that means they have presence in all over the globe, right? 150 plus data center they have. And the important thing there is, which is single scan multi-access. So single scan multi-access is basically the the capability to scan, right, the data as soon as it comes to Zscaler. All the components, all the engines get access to that data, and they scan it on a single very fast actually, and that makes it very fast in terms of traffic processing or policy execution, so user did not see the delay happening. So as I mentioned, Zscaler has over 150 plus data center, and these all data centers are Zscaler owned data centers. They do not have dependency on any other cloud like Azure or AWS. The OS Zscaler component you would see is this FreeBSD Linux operating system, and that operating system is basically they have modified it right a bit, and to suit their architecture, and that's how they call it the Zscaler OS. So this is a very brief about the architecture. Now we'll understand about the components involved, right? So in the architecture there are so many components, right? And with the help of these components the architecture is built, and these components perform their own tasks to save and secure or prevent things. So there are a couple of, I will not cover all of them, but let's say the very important one we're going to cover, for example, CA, SME, which is also called Zen, which is also called public service edge, and then ZURL database, Nanolog cluster, NSS, cloud router, admin portal, right, and the pack server, PSE, VSE. There are so many. We'll discuss about these all in our later training, but to just understand a bit about right what it is. So for example, central authority. So central authority is a brain and nerves of Zscaler data center. This is the node, or this is a component where user database, right, company information, user group department, right, policy configuration. That is what all are stored in the central database. There, the central database, works in active mode. There are so many, CA server across globe. And the other thing is, it's kind of a database, PS, PL, SQL database. One thing to understand that this is something which customer not going to have access, right? This is a kind of a backend component which you may not see, but it's there, right? Whenever you make changes in your portal, that goes to the central authority. Okay. Now, after the central authority, this is the ZIA Public Service Edge, which is called PSC. Sometime it is called SME or Zen. These are the old terms Zen. Okay. Now, what is this? This is the the inline security gateway engine actually. Uh, all the policy evaluation, policy enforcement, all happens here. Okay, on this node or this component. So traffic goes to a data center. A data center has multiple SMEs, and on these SMEs, configuration is downloaded from the central authority, and based on that, these configuration user data is processed, policies are enforced. The, and it, I mean, what kind of policy? Any policy, right? Like SN inspection policy, URL filtering policy, a DLP policy, and all these configuration are applied to that particular user data. Okay. Now, what is ZURL database? ZURL database is nothing but a Zscaler maintained own database of URLs where they, maintain the URL categories, right? So, for example, BBC. What is BBC? BBC is a news and news and media, right? It's a news channel. So the category would be for it like news and media URL category. That is what the Zscaler database. Now, what is Nanolog cluster? Nanolog cluster is nothing but to store logs and provide the report. So let's say user access something, right? For example, a website bbc.com, there will be the log of the transaction will be logged in Zscaler, and what it does, the Nanolog cluster, that's where the logs are stored, and this provides the report in form of web view or a firewall or DNS insight. So you can go there, review these logs on the portal itself. These logs are stored in the Nanolog cluster for 6 months, and with the with the additional subscription, it can go in, it can be there for a year. However, let's say there is another component which is called Nanolog Streaming Service, NSSVM, and this is extended version of Nanolog cluster you can think of, though it doesn't store any logs. But what it does, if a customer wants to store logs for more than 1 year, right, in their user transaction, they can go for the Nanolog streaming service. They can install a VM, and what this VM does, basically it connects to the Nanolog cluster, and then logs are forwarded to the Nanolog streaming service. And from this Nanolog streaming service, you connect to a SIM solution where you can store all your customer or your users um, logs, okay, and which you may need for the uh, later, right, for any purpose. Other important component is Zscaler cloud router, and this again, related to these Nanolog cluster as well. So, you know, uh, due to a certain policy, uh, company may don't want to store their database from to anywhere. They want that the data or the user log should be stored on a certain geolocation or maybe a certain locations, right? So this is the job of the cloud router. So this cloud router is connected to the Nanolog cluster, and based on the company configuration, right, if they want to send traffic or store traffic or the logs to the, let's say, EMEA location or EE location, right? This cloud router would store all these logs to that particular Nanolog cluster service. Okay, so that's how um, that's what the job of this particular cloud router. Admin UI, which is called SMUI. So this is basically nothing but a portal through which you configure policies, you provision users, you allow and block and everything, right? This is basically a very brief about the Zscaler architecture and the component it has and what we're gonna cover in this particular training. Let me quickly also show you the architecture diagram, that there is not only these components, but there are so many other components as well, which you may not see, right? These are the components. Some of these components I have shown. This component you may see, right? Admin UI you would see, SME you would see when you forward traffic to, NSS you would see. So I've shown you these kind of components which are visible to you so that you can correlate. But in term of, if we talk about in the backend, there are so many components involved. For example, there is a pack server which stored the pack service, pack database for all these users that connected to ZOIP database, right? And based on that GeoIP database, and there is a DNS server as well, right? So how user get a nearest data center based on the ZOIP coordinates, right? That's how a user always connected to the nearest data center. There is a FCC cloud as well. It's altogether a separate cloud which connects to the ZRL database, external third party vendors as well for the signature and so many other stuff it connects to. And the Zen is what we have already discussed. There are forwarding method, for example, GRE tunnel you can create to forward traffic to Zscaler, IPsec, pack file, Zscaler client connector. We didn't discuss about the ZAB, VZen also we didn't discuss PZen a bit, right? So there are so many other, and there is SMLB as well, right? Yep. So there are so many other component which may not be important for you. The but yeah, it's good to understand, right? So this is how the architecture usually looks like. There are multiple data center, all data centers or all the component you will see they are all are connected to the central authority because that's the main brain of the Zscaler data center. That's where user these all component would get the configuration, policy, and everything updates, right? So I think we're good. This is enough information about the Zscaler architecture. I hope you understood this, and this would help you, in our later trainings to understand these components or other policy when we discuss about them in detail. So thank you very much. See you in our next training. Till then, bye bye.